Count on in high definition. This is KOMU 8 News Today.
The White House is calling North Korea's latest nuclear test a highly provocative act that threatens U.S. security and international peace. Hear how a successful treatment of a disease in dogs may be able to help children.
Speaker William Woods hopes to teach church leaders how to combat social issues, plus details to a bill pertaining to discrimination lawsuits in the workplace. Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, February 12th, 2013. I'm Emily Spain.
I'm Megan Murphy.
I'm Eric Aldrich, and another little chilly start to our Tuesday morning out there. Many of us are into the middle and upper 20s and lower in just a little bit.
All right, thanks, Eric.
Moving on this morning, safety in schools is a topic that has parents across the country talking.
Tonight, local parents get the chance to voice their concerns about the issue at a public forum in Columbia. KOMU 8's Carly McGuire joins us now live in the studio to tell us more about this forum. Carly?
Yeah, I think Hickman High School is going to be packed tonight. Keeping kids safe is a priority for schools across the country, but the question of how do we protect the children is one that has renewed interest since Sandy Hook. Two MU professors, Columbia Public Schools Superintendent Chris Belcher, and local political radio host Gary Nolan will lead the panel. Superintendent Belcher says he has made school safety a top priority. In December, he said a number of security features were already in the process of being upgraded. 4 pieces of proposed legislation at the state capitol concerning firearms in school have been met with mixed reactions from citizens. Since 1983, just 4 school shootings took place in Missouri. The most recent one occurred this past January. Tonight's forum starts at 6:30 at Hickman High School.
All right, Carly, thank you very much. Jefferson City Police are still looking for a man accused of child abuse. Devin Benke is on the run and wanted for abusing a 4-year-old child on February 6th. Moving on now in your local news this morning, MU researchers have begun steps in reducing the effects of a rare genetic disease that affects humans and dogs. The fatal disorder is known as Batten disease and currently has no cure. However, MU researchers have recently developed a treatment that significantly delays the onset and progression of the disease in dogs. The treatment targeted a type of the disease that becomes evident in a later stage of development. It's become so effective that experts are hoping to begin therapy trials in children in the future. The State House Committee is considering legislation that would make it harder for employees to win lawsuits over workplace discrimination. The bill would require workers file a lawsuit over an employer's actions to prove that discrimination was a motivating factor. Currently, employees only need to prove that discrimination was a contributing factor to the issue. Finally, the director of the anti-trafficking organization, Win the Saints, will speak at William Woods University tonight at the library auditorium at 6. The speaker is a Missouri native, and he will speak about issues such as poverty and social injustices around the world and teach steps for churches to follow to help combat them. The event is free and open to the public. Eric.
6:03 is our time here this morning. Morning sunshine will give way to a lot of clouds throughout the afternoon, and along the way, temperatures warm back into the 40s today. Otherwise, a big cool down's coming for the weekend. We'll talk more about that coming up here in just a few minutes.
A live look over Columbia Regional Airport there. Your time is 6:04. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Here's a look at what's new right now. Protests quickly broke out after news spread of North Korea's nuclear test early this morning. Dozens of demonstrators gathered in central Seoul to denounce the move. Protesters burned North Korean flags and chanted anti-Kim Jong-un slogans. Meanwhile, in Japan, protesters there gathered outside of the Tokyo headquarters of the General Association of Korean Residents of Japan. The building is in the center of the North Korean community in Japan. The protesters tried to deliver a petition demanding they leave their country. Now you know the newest. Here's the headlines in the day ahead.
All right, and thanks. Police are still searching for the ex-LAPD officer wanted for a series of attacks that left 3 dead. Now billboards are popping up around Southern California to increase the efforts to capture that man. The one you're seeing is one of the billboards put up Monday night in Los Angeles. Shows a picture of 33-year-old Christopher Dorner and also highlights the $1 million reward for his arrest and conviction. The LAPD has received more than 600 tips in the case to this point. Cruise ship remains adrift at sea off Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula after a fire on Sunday left it without propulsion. 2 of those stranded are a couple from Plano, Texas. The engine room caught fire Sunday morning, causing the ship to lose power and leaving more than 3,100 passengers stranded about 150 miles off the coast. Loved ones have been keeping those on shore updated. The Syrian rebels may take a strong move in the civil conflict as they claim to have captured the country's largest dam Monday. Rebel supporters outside the country say controlling the dam gives the rebels control over water and electrical supplies for much of the country. The loss of the dam would be a major blow to President Bashar al-Assad. The rebels have already seized 2 other dams on the Euphrates River. The Syrian government did not acknowledge the loss of the dam. French politicians are calling for harsh punishment for businesses responsible for the growing European horse meat scandal. In France, 6 big retailers are recalling meat products suspected of being mislabeled after horse meat was discovered in processed meat dishes in Britain. Details are emerging of a complex network of slaughterhouses and middlemen between farms and supermarkets across Europe. Both Britain and France have vowed to punish those found responsible for selling horse meat as beef.
Now, your live Doppler 8 First Alert weather with meteorologist Eric Aldrich.
Well, good morning, everyone. 6:08 is our time here as we start you off on a Tuesday. We're going to see a lot of sunshine to start us off here, but quickly by about mid to late this morning. Ladies, back to you.
Here's a reminder, if you want to comment on or question the way we cover the news, go to our website, KOMU.com, then watch Fridays on KOMU 8 News at 6 for your view of the news. Live look out over mid-Missouri at 6:11. You're looking at Highway 63. We'll be right back.
Morning, we'll start to see a little extra cloud cover move on in, but we're going to stay dry. Will be today with highs in the middle 40s.
Apple and Google are 2 big parts of the world of business this week, and a look at how the iWatch is keeping investors buzzing. Here's your CNBC News.
I'm Hampton Pearson, and this is your cents a gallon. And that's your CNBC News Now.
One school's dean is giving students the chance to speak their piece to him individually. Also, some news has St. Louis Zoo officials in a pretty good mood. KOMU 8's Maddie Heidenreich is here with your news from around the state.
Thanks, Megan. Thought about speaking your mind to the head of your school, good or bad? Well, students at the University of Central Missouri in Warrensburg will have the chance. UMC President Charles Ambrose will hold a 2-hour tweet chat with students today. The university welcomes anyone to participate. Ambrose's Twitter handle is @UMCAmbrose, and he currently has around 1,500 followers. You've heard of naming highways, but what about parts of city-owned buildings? The city manager wants to create a new position to establish a sponsorship and naming rights program in the city. He's not suggesting the entire buildings be renamed, just sections or items within the building. And the numbers are in at the St. Louis Zoo, and it placed to be last year. The zoo announced Monday that attendance in 2012 was the highest ever recorded. Data shows more than 3.5 million people visited the zoo, beating the previous record set in 2009 at 3.1 million. Zoo officials also say visitors gave the attraction an overall satisfaction rating of 9.4 out of 10, the best score it's ever received.
On a more serious note, the Sandy Hook tragedy brought school safety measures into question after the break. Find out what Missouri schools are doing to keep kids safe.
A live look over Jefferson City there. The sunrise gets ready to rise. Get me out of here. 6:18.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. Safety concerns skyrocketed nationwide after the school killings on the East Coast took the lives of 20 children. But how did the Connecticut tragedy change mid-Missouri?
KOMU 8's Cody LaGrose looked into security at mid-Missouri schools during the last month and looks at what we're calling the Sandy Hook effect.
Welcome
to listen to each other.
Cody LaGrose, KOMU 8 News, Hallsville.
Burke told KOMU since the December shooting in Newtown, he receives hundreds of calls a week from schools and other businesses looking to receive intruder training. Many schools are discussing making these types of trainings mandatory, just like fire and tornado drills.
And we want to know what you think about that idea. Should schools treat shooter training like disaster practice? Let us know on KOMU.com.
And it is an issue that is on every parent's mind. Find out where you can discuss school safety issues tonight. That's coming up.
A beautiful live look over the sunrise of Jefferson City, 626. We'll be right back. The Jefferson City Parks and Rec Commission will meet this afternoon at 4:30. Three main issues will be addressed at today's meeting. First, the Recreation Services Committee looks to approve the 2013 to 2014 ice arena fee adjustments. Second, the North Jefferson Area Master Gardeners Project will approve recommendations. Finally, the Oak Hills Advisory Committee will discuss a new cross-country event. Today, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics will release information regarding jobs openings and labor turnover as it pertains to the non-farm sector in December 2012. The data will include information on job openings and the rates of those openings by industry and region. There will be numbers on hires, quits, and rates for both categories by industry. Later this week, the Bureau will release data on import-export price indexes and mass layoffs. The Fort Leonard Wood Fire Department is giving the public a hands-on demonstration of fire safety today. Demonstrations will focus on practicing digital fire safety in their new trailer. An open house will be held today from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the main Post Exchange parking lot. The training hopes to give children the opportunity to hear an actual 911 call and teach them what details they would need to give in case of an emergency.
All right, thanks, Megan. As Pope Benedict prepares to officially resign from his holy position at the end of February, Catholic leaders prepare to select his successor. There are a few choices that the Catholic community is eyeing to take over from Pope Benedict, who says he's leaving due to, quote, fatigue. Out of the contenders, here are three that stand out as potential successors to the Pope. The first is Cardinal Angelo Scola of Italy, who was appointed by Pope Benedict himself as the Archbishop of Milan back in 2011. He's known for his knowledge of bioethics and is the head of a foundation to promote understanding between Christians and Muslims. His appointment would return the papacy to an Italian man after 3 decades. The second is Cardinal João Braz de Vaz of Brazil. If elected, Braz de Vaz would become the first non-European pope. The respected cardinal has said it's important for there to be a strong bond between religious orders to help the church thrive. The third is Cardinal Peter Turkson of Ghana, who would become the first black pope. Turkson has said, quote, and if by divine providence, because the church belongs to God, if God would wish to see a black man also as pope, thanks be to God. The conclave will elect the next leader of the Catholic Church in mid-March. Moving on, some frustrated Long Island residents say they've been stranded in their homes for days now, waiting for snowplows to come and clear their streets. And they say their city leaders aren't returning their calls. Some residents are so fed up, they've taken matters into their own hands, pushing cars and digging them out of the streets. Slow pace is partly due to the absence of city officials in charge of the cleanup. One is on vacation right now. Residents say that official should have changed his plans when he learned about the storm.
6:34 is our time here this morning. A lot of open sky and sunshine early. Otherwise, a lot of clouds here for the afternoon. More on that all coming up here in just a little bit.
A live look at it from Missouri, 6:34. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. In your health news, new research shows high blood pressure during pregnancy may increase a woman's choice of developing health problems later in life, even if they're otherwise healthy. A long-term study found women who had even one high blood pressure reading during pregnancy had a higher risk of heart disease than women with normal blood pressure. These women were also 2 to 5 times more likely to die from a heart attack. Blood pressure problems were also linked to an increase in diabetes as well as an increase in kidney disease. Right now, Americans consume more than double the daily recommended intake of sodium. Doctors say cutting this amount of salt could save American lives. Researchers estimate gradually reducing sodium intake by 40% could save up to 500,000 lives during a 10-year period. This comes to 2,200 milligrams of salt per day, which is still more than the 1,500 milligram daily intake that the American Heart Association recommends. Some major food manufacturers like Kraft and Subway have already begun the process of cutting salt as part of a national sodium reduction effort headed by New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg.
Now, your live Doppler 8 First Alert weather with meteorologist Eric Aldrich.
Welcome back. This just in the newsroom. Law enforcement officials told us this morning that they have confirmed at Boone County Jail to KOMU just minutes ago that Columbia police arrested a man accused of child abuse. On Monday, Jefferson City police were on the lookout for Devin Benkey. He was wanted on charges of abusing a 4-year-old child on February 6th. Police say he may be driving a vehicle, and he was arrested and caught, and he's now currently in Boone County Jail.
The president is gearing up for his State of the Union address tonight, and it is believed his speech will be build on what the president laid out in his inauguration. The question now is, will Democrats and Republicans come together to solve the issues plaguing the federal budget? NBC's Tracy Potts has this preview.
Tonight, instead of focusing on how budget cuts would affect the Pentagon, we're told President Obama will focus on the middle class. Cuts to Head Start, research, and thousands. NBC News, Washington.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio will give the Republican response following that speech. Moving on in your politics, Chuck Hagel faces his first major hurdle in his bid to become Secretary of Defense as the Senate Armed Services Committee pushes the vote to his nomination. The panel will meet this afternoon to discuss and vote on President Obama's choice to succeed Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, who's stepping down. The Nebraska senator faces a Republican opposition who challenged his past decisions on Israel, Iran, Iraq, and nuclear weapons. It's expected the committee vote will split along party lines. The Ohio State Board of Education president is keeping her position despite her controversial Facebook posting. Debbie Terhar promised the mistake would never happen again. What mistake? Terhar posted a picture of Adolf Hitler with a quote saying, "Never forget what this tyrant said. To conquer a nation, first disarm its citizens." It was in response to the president's beliefs on gun control. Terhar survived a divided board deciding whether she should keep her job.
6:46 is our time here this morning, and weather and traffic looks pretty good. Not a lot of us will have a lot of weather-related issues on the roadways this morning. Many of us are back into the 20s and a few lower 30s out there. Sunshine sticks around for the next few hours, and then clouds arrive throughout the afternoon. We'll talk more about that, plus have a look at your travel forecast in just a bit.
Here's a look at what's new right now. Within the hour, the AP is reporting the International Olympic Committee leaders dropped wrestling from the program for the 2020 Olympics. Officials at the IOC Executive Board decided to remove wrestling after reviewing the 26 sports on the current Olympic program. Eliminating one sport allows the International Olympic Committee to add a new sport to the program later this year. The last sports removed from the Olympics were baseball and softball, voted out by the IOC in 2005 and off the program since the 2008 Beijing Games. Now you know the newest. Here's your latest weather.
Okay, 6:50 is our time here this morning in just a few minutes.
The Columbia Public School Board met last night to discuss a possible new schedule for elementary, middle, and high school students. While the board hasn't officially taken a vote on it, it appears the board is leaning toward an option named Bell's Schedule 1. With this schedule, one group of elementary school students would start at 7:40 and end at 2:40. Middle schools would start at 7:30 and end at 2:35. Another group of elementary school kids would start at 8:20 and end at 3:20. High school students would begin at 9 and end at 4:05. And finally, the total buses used at the start of the day would be around 112, while at the end of the day, they would number around 122. While school board members and students like the plan, one parent in particular isn't happy. He says the school board should have considered the effect different start times have on a parent's schedule. The board will make a vote on the new schedule next month.
KOMU has announced a $5 million donation to the College of Veterinary Medicine. The donation will go toward improving drugs to fight cancer in animals and people. The gift comes from Cottrell and Kay Fox of Town and Country. The family wanted to recognize its longtime family veterinarians who both graduated from the college. An update to a story KOMU has covered since last month. The Aspen Heights workers who came to Columbia promised to pay for work still have not been paid.
KOMU was most recently told that would happen last Friday. We've confirmed it did not happen. A representative from Aspen Heights says the company was close to a deal with its contractor, R Energy. That deal would have resulted in workers being paid, but it fell through. KOMU talked with a local worker on Monday. He said he's owed around $15,000, and he and other workers need that money to pay bills and provide for their families.
Give us our payroll. You know, and that's what I would want them to do. Just give us our payroll so we can continue on building our business and taking care of our families.
Aspen Heights says talks fell through because the contractors brought in new information at the last minute. Workers have been waiting to be paid since January 18th. Moving on, Jefferson City Police arrested a woman for growing marijuana in her home. Authorities arrested Angela Parker for distributing, delivering, and manufacturing a controlled substance. Police also called social services because they found a child in poor living conditions. Parker posted bail for $10,000 after Cole County officials took her to jail.
Your time is now 6:53. You're looking live over the city of Columbia. Emily and I want to say hello and a big thank you to the St. Joseph Cathedral School 2nd and 3rd graders. We got to visit with them yesterday. They were lots of fun. They were wonderful hosts, and we hope they have a great day at school.
All right, thanks, Eric. In your local news, the State House Committee is considering legislation that would make it harder for employees to win lawsuits over workplace discrimination. The bill would require workers file a lawsuit over an employer's actions to prove that discrimination was a motivating factor. Currently, employees only need to prove that discrimination was a contributing factor to the issue. The director of the anti-trafficking organization Win the Saints will speak at William Woods University tonight in the library auditorium at 6. The speaker is a Missouri native, and he will speak about issues such as poverty and social injustices around the world and teach steps for churches to follow to help combat them. The event is free and open to the public. Megan.
President Barack Obama's condemned North Korea's nuclear test. U.S. Ambassador Sung Kim delivered the president's message to the South Korean government. Senior U.S. military officials joined the ambassador at the meeting. The U.S. has about 30,000 troops in South Korea to support the country's 650,000 strong armed forces. The message Kim brought spoke about how critical cooperation will be between the U.S. and South Korea in the future. A Florida police officer is in a Texas hospital this morning after being stabbed by an inmate late last night. The officer was one of 2 men who were transporting a prisoner from Miami to Las Vegas for a court appearance. The group had a connecting flight out of Dallas, but rented an SUV after the prisoner began acting strangely on the plane. At some point, one of the officers got out of the car. Police say that's when the prisoner somehow stabbed the lone officer with an unknown object before fleeing. The injured officer is expected to recover. Authorities are still looking for the escaped prisoner this morning. New overnight, authorities in College Park, Maryland, are investigating a murder-suicide involving 3 University of Maryland students. One of the students allegedly opened fire on his 2 housemates in an off-campus residence before turning the gun on himself. Authorities say earlier this morning the alleged shooter set a fire in the basement of the house. The 2 housemates confronted him, and as they tried to get away, their roommates shot them, killing one and injuring the other. The shooter then went to the rear of the house and took his own life. The injured student is expected to survive.
Tonight, local parents get the chance to voice their concern about safety in schools. 2 MU professors, Columbia Public Schools Superintendent Chris Belcher, and local political radio host Gary Nolan will lead a forum on the issue. The question of how do we protect the children is one that has had renewed interest since Sandy Hook. Superintendent Belcher says he has made school safety a top priority. In December, he said a number of security features were already in the process of being upgraded. Tonight's forum starts at 6:30 at Hickman High School.
Remember, KOMU 8 News is with you whenever you need it. Find breaking news as we get in anytime on your smartphone, iPad, or tablet, plus weather on the go. We're with you all day.
All right. Time is 6:59.
Okay, not a bad start to a Tuesday. A lot of open sky and sunshine. Clouds will be